everyone, welcome to Borthakur's IAS Academy, Northeast's premier institute for UPSC, APSC and NPSC preparations. I hope you all are doing well. I'm your friend Atrey and today I'm here with a segment of Current Affairs 365. This is your one-stop solution where we will discuss news and updates which are related to civil services examination and that will also be helpful for any other Assam state government services. You can follow us on Facebook as well as Instagram for any such job related updates. Also, please don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, without any further ado, let's get started. Now, moving ahead to the first news of the day. It is related to GS paper 2 and can also be tagged under GS paper 3. It's the world's first 5-country biosphere reserve, the Mura-Drava-Danube, which has been declared as the world's first 5-country biosphere reserve by the UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. This biosphere reserve covers 700 kilometers of the Mura, Drava and Danube rivers and stretches across the countries of Austria, Slovenia, Croatia, Hungary and Serbia. The total area of the reserve is 1 million hectares and it is now the largest riverine protected area of Europe. This biosphere, it represents an important contribution to the European Green Deal, which is a climate action plan, and also it contributed to the implementation of European Union's biodiversity strategy. The main aim behind this behind the declaration of this reserve is to revitalize 25,000 kilometers of rivers and protect 30% of European Union's land area by the period of 2030. Coming to the importance of this particular biosphere reserve, it is one of the richest in Europe in terms of species diversity and is also home to floodplain forests, gravel and sandbanks. This area is also home to the highest density in Europe of breeding pairs of white-tailed eagle and some other endangered species like little tern, blackstork, otters, etc. It is also an important stepping stone for more than 2,50,000 migratory waterfalls every year. We all know that Biosphere Reserve is an international designation by the UNESCO and it tries to maintain the economic and social development balance, and also it works for maintenance of associated cultural values along with the preservation of culture. These regions, they are nominated by national governments and they remain under the sovereign jurisdiction of the states where they are located. These are designated under the Intergovernmental MAB program. MAB stands for Man and the Biosphere, which is an intergovernmental scientific program. It aims to establish a scientific basis for enhancing the relationship between people and their environments. And also the status is internationally recognized. Currently, there are 727 biosphere reserves in 131 countries. Each biosphere reserve has 3 main zones. First is the core zone. It comprises a strictly protected area that contributes to the conservation of landscapes, ecosystems, species and genetic variation. Then comes the buffer zone. It surrounds the core area and is used for activities which are compatible with sound ecological practices. And lastly comes the transition area. This transition area is the place where communities foster socio-culturally and economically sustainable human activities are also practiced there. Coming to the scenario of biosphere reserves in India, presently there are 18 biosphere reserves in our country and 12 among them, they have been enlisted in the UNESCO's list of Man and Biosphere Reserves program. The latest inclusion in this MAB list is the Panna Biosphere Reserve from the state of Madhya Pradesh. Moving ahead to the next news, it is regarding agreement on agriculture by the World Trade Organization. Recently, while addressing the informal ministerial meeting of the G33, India's Commerce and Industry Minister pointed out certain imbalances in the agreement on agriculture at the World Trade Organization. Here the minister claimed that it was in favor of certain developed countries and there are some imbalances which must be corrected in order to ensure rule-based, fair and equitable order. The minister also requested all the G33 members to strive for positive outcomes on a permanent solution related to public stock holding for food security purposes. G33 is a forum of developing countries which was formed during the Cancun Ministerial Conference of the World Trade Organization. It was formed to protect the interest of developing countries in agricultural trade negotiations. India is also a part of the G33 forum, which is a group of 47 developing and least developed countries. The main aim behind the creation of this organization was to help group countries which were all facing similar economic crisis, and G33 has also proposed special rules for developing countries at the World Trade Organization's negotiations. It includes allowing them to continue to restrict access to their agricultural markets. The main aim of Agreement on Agriculture is to remove trade barriers and also to promote transparent market access and integration of global markets. There are three main pillars of Agreement on Agriculture. These are the domestic support, market access and the export subsidy. Domestic support, it mainly aims at reduction in domestic subsidies that distorts free trades and fair price. Under this provision, the aggregate measurement of support is to be reduced by 20% over a period of 6 years. Now this domestic support is further categorized into the green box, amber box and blue box. Green box includes subsidies that do not distort trade, or at most they causes minimal distortion. Then the amber box, here all the domestic support measures are to be considered which distort production and trade with certain exceptions. It includes measures to support prices or subsidies which are directly related to production. The third one is the blue box. This is the amber box with certain conditions, and these conditions are designed to reduce further distortion. Any support that would normally be in the amber box is placed in the blue box if the support requires farmers to limit their production. Next pillar, second pillar, is the market access. Market access for goods in the World Trade Organization, it mainly means the conditions, tariff and non-tariff measures which are agreed by all the members for entry of specific goods into their markets. Then next is the export subsidy, which is the third pillar. It is subsidy on inputs of agriculture which makes export cheaper, and also the other incentives for exports such as import duty remission, which are included under export subsidies. World Trade Organization, we are all aware of this organization, which was established in the year 1995, and it was the successor of General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. The main objective here was to help trade flow smoothly, freely and predictably. It has 164 members, which accounts for 98% of world's trade. The next news is about Global Methane Pledge. Recently, the US President has announced this particular initiative, which is a US-European Union-led effort in order to cut down the global methane emissions by around 1/3 by the end of this decade. This announcement has come ahead of the 26th Conference of the Parties of United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which is going to be held in Glasgow, UK. This will also help in abiding by the targets of the Paris Climate Deal. This pact between the United States and the European Union is all set to reduce the emissions of methane globally by around 30% by the end of the year 2030. And if adopted properly across the world, then this is going to reduce the global heating by around 0.2 degrees centigrade by the 2040s. Currently, our Earth is 1.2 degree centigrade hotter than in the pre-industrial times. Methane is the simplest hydrocarbon, which consists of one carbon atom and 4 hydrogen atoms, and is highly flammable and is also used as a fuel worldwide. and it is one of the most powerful greenhouse gases. Approximately 40% of methane emission is from natural sources, and the remaining 60% is attributed to human influenced activities like livestock farming, then rice agriculture, biomass burning, and so on. The major impact of methane gas emission includes global warming and the promotion of tropospheric ozone air pollution. Methane is nearly 80 to 85 times more potent than carbon dioxide in terms of its global warming capacity, and this makes it a very critical target towards reducing global warming more quickly while simultaneously working towards reducing the other greenhouse sources. Then an increase in the level of emission of methane, it results in rising of the tropospheric ozone air pollution, which causes more than 1 million premature deaths annually. Certain Indian initiatives in order to cut down methane emission includes Harit Dhara, the ICAR, Indian Council of Agricultural Research. They have developed an anti-methanogenic feed supplement which is known as Harit Dhara, and it not only cuts down the cattle methane emission by around 20%, but it also results in higher milk production. Next is the National Action Plan on Climate Change, which was launched in the year 2008. It aims at creating awareness among the representatives of public, then different government agencies, industry and other communities on the threat which is being posed by climate change and the steps to counter it. The Global Methane Initiative, it is another international public-private partnership which is focused on reducing the barriers to the recovery and also how methane can be used as a clean source of energy. This initiative, it provides technical support to deploy methane to energy projects around the world, and India is also a partner country in this initiative. Moving ahead to the next news, it is about urban planning reforms by NITI Aayog. Recently, NITI Aayog has launched the report titled Reforms in Urban Planning Capacity in India. If we have a look at the urbanization in India, then we can see that India's population stood at 1,210 million in 2011 with an urbanization level of 31.1%. This is as per the census of our country in the year 2011. Urbanization, we all know, is a process where there is an increase in the number of people who are residing in towns and cities. But the distribution of urban centers and the pace of urbanization is not uniform across our country. Over 75% of the urban population of our country, they mainly reside in 10 states. If we look at the statewide scenario, then we can see that certain states are above the national average. These states includes Goa, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Maharashtra and Gujarat, which have attained over 40% of urbanization. But states like Bihar, Odisha, Assam and Uttar Pradesh, they still continue to be at a lower level of urbanization than the national average of 31.1%. Then coming to the union territories, Delhi, Daman and Diu, Chandigarh and Lakshadweep, they show above 75% of urbanization. The major need for reforming urban planning capacity is the increase in urbanization. India's urban population is at 11% that of the entire world. But in absolute numbers, the urban population in India is seen to be more than the highly urbanized regions of United States, Japan, Western Europe and South America. During the period of 2011 to 36, urban growth will be responsible for about 73% of the rise in total population of our country. Next comes the national infrastructure pipeline. Okay, the urban sector has also a significant share of about 17% of NIP, which facilitates infrastructure projects in our country with a projected investment of around 111 lakh crore during the period of 2020-25. Then comes India's global commitments. The Sustainable Development Goal number 11, it promotes urban planning as one of the recommended methods for achieving sustainable development. The United Nations Habitat's new urban agenda, it was adopted at the Habitat 3 in 2016, which puts forth principles for the planning, construction, development management and improvement of the urban areas. So with this, we have come to an end of today's session. I hope it was helpful. Don't forget to click on the like button and hit the bell icon so that you get notified each time we post a video. I'll see you all again tomorrow with another segment of Current Affairs 365 only on Port Harcourt's IAS Academy, Northeast's premier institute for UPSC, APSC and NPSC preparations. Till then, take good care of yourselves and keep learning. Bye-bye.